Ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and today we're going to be ranking my top 10 running backs in the 2022 NFL Draft. Now, for those of you who don't know, the NFL Draft is my favorite days of the year. All 3 days, I love them so much, and I'll be streaming those 3 days here on YouTube, and we'll get to more of that in here in a second. And also, I do want to say that I am a Broncos fan. For anyone who is new to the channel, I was born and raised in Colorado, so I'm a Broncos fan, Avalanche fan, Rockies fan, Nuggets fan. However, my 2 favorite sports are football and hockey. Not that that really matters in this instance, but I just was explaining for the new people here on the channel. But yes, I am a Broncos fan, born and raised in Colorado. Now, before we get into this, I want to remind you that Jesus is King, and I just pray that you give your life to Him as He's got a plan and a purpose for you on this earth. I feel as a Christian, it's important for me to talk about Jesus and spread the gospel and get the word out there because it's just something important that I want to get many people to hear. And whether you choose to accept it or believe it is up to you. Now, I hope that you do believe in Jesus, that He died on the cross for your sins and He rose from the dead 3 days later. And if you truly believe that with your whole heart and confess with your mouth that He is Lord, then you'll go to heaven. It's that simple. It's that easy. My message I like to share, and I feel like it's very important as a Christian. Now, there are some disclaimers that I want to go over. This list is based on my scouting and tape study, and then I also cross-reference with some other people just to make sure I get the best evaluations that I can. If you disagree, you can do so respectfully, but just don't call me an idiot or anything because everyone has different opinions. And like I said, everyone has different opinions on what they look for in a player / a prospect. So remember, that's fine, and that everyone is going to disagree. If everyone agreed, then the world would be boring. Like, I'm just going to put it that way. And then finally, I'm going to be live streaming here on YouTube for all 3 days of the NFL Draft, and I will have my complete player rankings of the top 20 players at each position, and then also a big board. I don't know how big I'm going to make it yet. I'm still working on it. That will be there for the stream. And it's just going to be a fun, chill hangout spot. We'll watch the draft together. I have this huge setup where I'm going to have the names scrolling across the screen. I have an animation for when there's a trade that's occurring and a bunch of other stuff that I'm excited to show you here in a few days once I finalize my draft setup. Now, with that being said, let's finally jump in to the running back rankings. Here at number 10, I have got Zamir White, running back out of Georgia. Now, I'm going to try and give a quick explanation because I don't think we should be here all day. I talk a lot. It's just something I do, so I'm going to try and be as quick and concise as possible. So, Zamir White is a very patient running back. He'll wait for the holes to open up, and he's got great vision to find the open hole as well. He's got a lot of lateral quickness, and he's going to be able to make jump cuts to find the open hole. And he's got a lot of burst and speed to hit the hole and get out fast. He's got a lot of change of direction if he needs to flip sides of the field instantly. And his ball security is very, very good as he is able to hold onto the ball and doesn't turn the ball over and commit many fumbles. And he also follows his blockers, follows the lead blockers to where they need to go, and that results obviously in big plays. So during his time at Georgia, Zamir White had 382 attempts for 2,043 yards. He had a 5.3 average and 25 touchdowns on the season. Sorry, I kind of got distracted there. I was trying to look to see if there was anything else I wanted to add, but yeah, that's Zamir White, my number 10 running back in this year's draft. At number 9, we have Dameon Pierce. So Dameon Pierce is the running back out of Florida, and unlike Zamir White, he is a power back. He's got a lot of vision, and he makes great decisions on choosing what hole to hit. He's got a lot of balance where if he tries to make a spin move or a juke, or if someone hits him and he's able to spin away, he's able to regain his balance and find it again. He doesn't have that speed, burst, or explosiveness that a lot of speed scat backs have, but he has a lot of break, tackle, and power as a obviously power back. He's got a very versatile player. He's able to play in gap schemes or zone schemes if needed to. And he's also got a lot of ball security. He's not going to turn the ball over for a power back. Power backs, they're hitting, they're engaging with a lot of defensive players, and he's able to hold on to the ball, which is a very, very plus size for him as a running back. Or not size, but a plus skill for him as a running back. During his time at Florida, he had 329 attempts for 1,806 yards, a 5.5 average, and 23 touchdowns. Before I continue on, I want to remind you that, or I just want to say that these are based on their rushing stats, not on their receiving stats or returning stats. This is just going to be focused on them as a running back, and that might be unfair to some running backs who are used as a receiving back, kind of. But that's just what I'm basing this off of. Also, sorry if I'm giving a lot of pauses. I'm trying not to do that as much, but just stay with me here for a little bit. At number 8, I have Jerome Ford, running back out of Cincinnati, is my number 8 back in the class. Obviously, Cincinnati, they were a good team. They made it to the playoffs last season, so there's going to be a lot of players drafted. We obviously went over Desmond Ritter in the last video. We got Jerome Ford here, and he's got great vision. Once again, a lot of these running backs have great vision to find the holes and go where they need to. He has a great ability to make jump cuts if he needs to change holes if one's closing and another one's opening. He's able to break tackles very easily. Arm tackles won't bring him down. You actually need to hit and wrap up to tackle Jerome Ford. He lacks speed and explosiveness, though, through the holes, so he's another power back. But he's a very versatile player. Once again, can play in almost any scheme that you need him to, gap or zone. So that's going to be a very plus, obviously, for different teams who have different running schemes. During his time at Cincinnati, I keep forgetting to go over the stats. He had 319 attempts on 1,953 yards, a 6.1 average, and 30 touchdowns on the year. My number 7 running back in this class is Tyler Badie out of Missouri. Badie is an interesting one to me. He has a lot of talent. There are just some things that might concern me a little bit. Let's start with some of the good. He's a good zone scheme running back, so any offense that runs a zone running system, he'll be able to do, or he will be able to succeed in that. He has great footwork. He's able to find the hole. He constantly chops his feet looking for the open hole. However, there are some negatives that I just personally didn't like. And one of them is his injury history. He has had 2 torn ACLs in the past, I believe. And also, he was a workhorse, carrying over 300 times last season, or I don't know if that's last season, but during college. And obviously there's going to be wear and tear on running backs given how much they get tackled and hit. So the injury history plus him being that workhorse, how much longevity does he have long term? That's a concern for me. But he's very explosive and speedy. Once he gets the ball, he's going to explode through the hole, and he'll take off down the field. And also, he is a very, very reliable when it comes to ball security and holding onto the football and not turning it over. During his time at Missouri, he had 513 attempts for 2,740 yards. He averaged 5.3 yards per play, and he had 23 touchdowns. Now at number 6 for me on this top 10 list is going to be Kyren Williams, who honestly moved down one spot for me once I did a second look at his tape. Now he's got great vision, and he's going to find the hole, and he's got a kind of a slippery aspect to his game where he's able to slip through these small holes that are closing, and he's got a lot of speed to do so as well. But the thing is that he does have a lot of speed, but the explosiveness, I just didn't really see it there. He kind of lacked that burst and explosiveness to shoot through the hole and get off to that fast start. He also doesn't really hold on to the ball that well. He turned the ball over quite a bit. But the thing that I do say, as I mentioned, was unfair is he is very heavily relied on in the passing game, which I think could be a plus side for him, which might have teams take him higher, but he needs a little bit more work as a running back, in my opinion, as a pure runner, I should say. But I do like Kyren Williams. I think he is still going to be a very, very solid prospect. And during his time at Notre Dame, he had 419 attempts for 2,153 yards, a 5.1 average, and 27 touchdowns on the year. Then moving on to the top 5. At number 5, we got Brian Robinson Jr. out of Alabama. I believe Brian Robinson was at Alabama for 5 seasons. And if you think about that, he was behind Najee Harris, who was a first-round pick, and I believe he was also behind Josh Jacobs, who was also a first-round pick, obviously. So he really got his time to shine this season. And yeah, he's a power back. He's got a lot of vision, and he's going to hit the hole, but he lacks that explosiveness, speed, and burst when going through the hole in open space. But he's got great footwork. He's going to be patient. He's going to chop his feet. He's going to find the open hole. He's also going to break a lot of tackles. You need to wrap him up. No arm tackles, or he'll break through them very, very easily. And a very reliable when it comes to holding onto the ball. Great at ball security. He's not going to turn the rock over that often. And yeah, Brian Robinson Jr., I think, will be a very solid running back. I see him as more of a round 3 pick to me, but I still think he'll be a very solid running back in the NFL. During his time at Alabama, he had 545 attempts on 2,704 yards, a 5.0 average, or I guess just a 5-yard average per play, and he had 29 touchdowns during his career at Alabama. Moving on to number 4, we have James Cook, running back out of Georgia, the second Georgia running back on this list. Obviously, the brother of Dalvin Cook of the Vikings right now. And James Cook, he has a lot of vision. He's going to find the open hole. I know I keep saying that, but it's true with a lot of these running backs. And he's also got this slipperiness that Kyren Williams had. He's going to be able to squeeze through holes that are closing or small holes, and he'll get through there. But the thing is, he does have he does have kind of an explosiveness that Kyren Williams doesn't have, and he's got some speed to take off as well. He's also great at being elusive. He's going to make people miss. He's going to juke them out if needed. He's got the juke moves in the arsenal to do that. He's also a very, very reliable running back when it comes to ball security. I don't know why that's hard for me to say every time it comes up, but he's also going to hold on to the ball. He's not going to turn the ball over. There is just one thing that kind of worries me is the injury history he has, and you don't like the injury history. I know NFL teams hate it, and they obviously have the medical, so they know the situation better. I'm just going on based on the past. That is a minus for me on my list here. But I do like James Cook. I think he'll be a very, very solid running back. I do think he's going to go in the second round. I'd be shocked if he does not go in the second round. He's definitely going to go day 2, round 2 or 3, but I would be shocked if he fell out of the second round. Next up, during his time at Georgia, he had 230 attempts on 1,503 yards, a 6.5 average, and 14 touchdowns. Now moving on to my number 3 running back is going to be Isaiah Spiller, running back out of Texas A&M. Isaiah Spiller is an interesting one where he didn't have the season I thought he was going to have with Texas A&M. Obviously, coming into this preseason, if you saw the videos on my channel, he was the number 1 running back for me in the preseason before the NFL season started and before the college football season started. He didn't have the most spectacular season, in my opinion, but then also there were 2 other running backs who just kind of leapfrogged him because of the seasons they had. But I do still like Isaiah Spiller. He can both run up the middle or the outside, so he's kind of got that versatility where if you want to run outside, he can run outside. If you want to run up the middle, he's going to run up the middle. He's got a lot of balance when he takes hits. He's going to be able to recover easily, regain his balance. He's just got that balance. He's not going to be really knocked over that often. You're not going to be able to hit him, and he's going to fall down. He's got that good balance, and he's got a lot of size as well. He's able to jump cut to find the open hole as well, have vision to find the open hole. Doesn't have, I said he's got kind of speed, but he doesn't have the biggest speed. He doesn't have explosiveness, and he doesn't have the greatest speed as some of these other running backs, but I still think, he can have speed, but it's tough for me. I go back and forth. I'm like, oh, that kind of looks fast. He doesn't look that fast. So, I'm going to give him kind of average speed. And then also he needs to work on holding onto the ball as he does turn the ball over and fumble quite a bit. During his time at Texas A&M, Isaiah Spiller had 541 attempts for 2,993 yards, averaged 5.5 yards per play, and he scored 25 touchdowns for the Aggies. Next up is going to be Breece Hall. Now, I do want to say I went back and forth between Breece Hall and the number one running back. At one point, it was who I had number one running back. He was there at number one, and then Breece Hall overtook him. And then recently, Breece Hall fell back to number two, but I still think these two are both fantastic backs that are going to go early in the second round. Now, Breece Hall, he is a zone running back, so he's going to thrive in a zone run scheme. He's got a lot of patience. He's going to wait for the hole to open up. He's got the vision to find that hole, and he's going to hit it. He's got the speed, the burst, and the explosiveness to hit that hole. He's not going to break a lot of tackles, though. He's not going to power through and break those tackles. So wrap him up and take him to the ground. Don't arm tackle. I mean, he's not those like Dameon Pierces, and he's going to break all these tackles. But still, you should just never arm tackle a running back. But he doesn't have the break tackle like a lot of running backs. For example, I'm a Broncos fan. He does not have the break tackle of Javonte Williams. But what he does have is he has the elusiveness. He's going to juke. He's going to jump cut. He's going to spin. He's going to try to make players miss in the open space. That is his game right there. And then I kind of have a neutral mark here where he's kind of got sometimes he's got the balance, sometimes he doesn't. Like he'll go for a spin and sometimes he'll recover right away and continue running. Sometimes he'll go for a spin and it will take him a second to regain that balance. And then by that time, a lot of the defenders have caught up and tackled him. And then a big minus for me is the ball security. He did have a little bit of a fumbling problem this season, especially that game Iowa versus Iowa State. He did fumble quite a lot in that game. So ball security is something I do think he can work on. It's tough, obviously. You're running the ball and then you're getting hit, and you got to hold on to the football. So it's something hard, but it is just one of the reasons I would say is that he fell to the number 2 running back for me. But yeah. During his time at Iowa State, he had 718 rushing attempts for 3,941 yards. He averaged 5.5 yards per play and scored 50 touchdowns. Now, looking at my number 1 running back, it's Kenneth Walker. And, he was in the conversation for the Heisman for a little bit. I feel like he was a little bit disrespected not being a finalist. But, yeah, no, there was a lot of guys who really just didn't get respected. Will Anderson from Alabama, he should have definitely been a finalist. I don't know how he didn't. Well, maybe he was a finalist. Maybe I'm just remembering it wrong. I know Will Anderson wasn't, but let me just look this up real quick because I didn't think he was, but maybe he was a finalist. No, it wasn't. It was Aiden Hutchinson, Kenny Pickett, C.J. Stroud, and Bryce Young. But I do think he didn't really – he kind of tailed off in the end of the season, but, he still had a fantastic season for Michigan State. So before going to Michigan State, he transferred from Wake Forest. So he started at Wake Forest and transferred to Michigan State. And what I like about Kenneth Walker is he's got both vision and anticipation. So he's going to see when the hole opens up, but he also kind of anticipates when a hole's going to open up, and then he hits that with speed, explosiveness, and burst. And that's just something you don't really see. And then he runs very physical. He's an angry runner. He's going to run over people, which I love. He's also got a lot of elusiveness. He's going to make people miss in open space, and he's got that ball security. So to me, Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall have a lot of similarities, but the thing that I like about Kenneth Walker is he's a very physical runner. He's going to run over people, but he also holds on to the ball, which obviously, Breece Hall has had those fumbling problems. Not to knock Breece Hall down, but he's had those fumbling problems a little bit. And then also, Breece Hall really can't break the tackles. I do believe Kenneth Walker is better at that. So it is very, very close, but I am giving the edge to Kenneth Walker as my number 1 running back. And there we have it. Those are my top 10 running backs in this year's class. Next up, we have receivers, which I am so excited about. Remember, if you haven't already, to leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as the support is greatly appreciated. We're almost at 300. Let's see if we can hit 300 subscribers before the NFL draft. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.